Hey Hylians! Majora's Mask is possibly the game in the Zelda series with the most theories and discussions around it. Its drastically different tone and story compared to other Zelda games is something that has stuck with fans ever since its release. And it's understandable because of how different this game is with its tone, world and story that people would try to look deeper into it. I feel pretty much everything of importance has been analysed and theorised about within this game to death by now, but that's not going to stop me from adding to it. Just like so many others, I love the strange and creepy aspects of Majora's Mask. It's something that I truly don't think could be replicated in another Zelda game to this extent. From the world itself, the dungeons, the music, and everything down to the people inhabiting the world, something just feels a little off. Something's not quite right about Termina. And when it comes to things not being quite right in the world of Termina, I don't think anything represents this feeling more than the moon. I don't think there are all that many people out there who play video games who don't at least recognise the moon from Majora's Mask, even if they have no idea what game it's from. It's an iconic part of the Zelda series despite only being in one game. The moon in Majora's Mask is already a creepy and threatening entity. It's always above you, slowly falling, and unless you find a way to stop it, everyone will die. But adding even more to this uneasy feeling is the fact that the moon has a face. Nintendo could have simply left the moon as a normal, non-faced moon. Something that did seem to be considered in early development of the game, as we can see in some early concept art. But no, they chose to add to the nightmare fuel that Majora's Mask already creates and slap a giant creepy face on it. Always staring down at you, always watching. A creation through Majora's evil power. Or is it? Well, I don't think so. Well, not entirely. I feel Majora's power definitely made it look like that. But I feel the moon of Termina always had a face. And there's a good amount of things pointing towards that being true found within the game. I think the best place to start is with Termina itself. Termina is not of the same world that Hyrule is. We see the moon many times in Hyrule and it never once has a face. Termina is a world much like Lorule, connected to Hyrule through magic, where many things like locations or people seem the same as those in Hyrule, but in the end can be very different. People having completely different personalities, different families, and all around different roles in their world compared to their Hylian counterpart. I feel this can also be the same for things within the world like the moon. I don't think things can get more different from the normal moon than one having a huge face on it. Termina is also seen as a very strange and bizarre land in the series, and so something like this doesn't seem all that out of the ordinary for it. But let's look at the evidence in the game that actually points to the moon having a face before the events of Majora's Mask. Termina may be a strange place, but that alone is not enough to justify this theory. On your first 3 days in Clocktown, there is a lot to see and do before that time is up. You obviously need to find a way how to stop the moon or at least prevent it, and so you will start your search for any information within the town. And eventually you'll come across the Astral Observatory, a building outside of Clocktown but connected to it through some underground tunnels, which has a large telescope on the top of it to look at the sky. Inside, you'll find Professor Shikashi, an astronomer who spends his time in the Astral Observatory. When talking to him, he'll tell you about a peculiar rock known as a moon's tear. He says, "That is one of the lunar rocks that has been blazing from the surface of the moon lately. They fall from what looks to be the moon's eye, so I call them moon's tears. They are rare stones, valued by many in town." While he talks about how there have been many falling from the sky lately, implying the time since Skull Kid and Majora set the moon to start falling, he also says that they're rare stones, and that they are highly valued by many in Clocktown. Majora's influence over the moon is a very new thing, only starting once we arrive in Clocktown, or at least very shortly before we do. And Professor Shikashi says that the moon's tears come from the moon's eye. That's the reason why he names them moon's tears. And saying he also says that they are rare and highly valued would mean that these moon's tears have been falling to Termina for a long time, not just over the recent days since Majora took control. It's just now that they're falling much more frequently. When you're in Clocktown, you can also find a business scrub who's about to leave town after selling everything he has. But before he leaves, he wants to get a gift for his wife. He tells us that he's heard of a stone called a moon's tear, something that supposedly shines brighter than any other in Termina, and that his wife would love one. This again shows that people know of these rocks. They're not something new, just something that up until recently was somewhat rare to come across. When it comes to the people of Clocktown, talk of the moon is obviously everywhere. Most people in town will talk about how it's getting closer, how it looks to be falling, and how they are worried about it hitting them. But surprisingly, not many people talk about its face. I don't know about you, but if the moon started falling and also now had a giant face, I think both would be a part of the conversation. Yet only a few people really talk about its face, and when they do, it's not exactly the way you might expect. In East Clocktown, you'll come across the twin jugglers, members of the Gorman troupe. And if you talk with them, they will mention the moon's appearance. The blue juggler will start talking first and end his sentence with, "Once in a blue moon." And so then the red juggler will reply to him with, or in this year's case, "Once in a really scary red-eyed moon." The way they talk about the moon doesn't seem as drastic as you might think it would be. They're not shocked at the moon having a face, only that it now had scary red eyes. All of this, I feel, is enough to confirm that the moon of Termina always had a face. But did you know we can actually see what the moon would normally look like in-game? It's a very easy to miss little detail, but it is there. When in Clocktown, head to the mayor's office and go into the room where the mayor himself is. Inside will be the debate between the carpenters and the guards, but it will also focus from time to time on the mayor himself. And when it does, you can see on the top of his chair is the moon's true face, with its large smile and bright yellow eyes. This is the only time that we can see the face, though I think it being shown at the top of the mayor's chair is very fitting. It's never pointed out, it's just there, and it makes it feel like a normal piece of the world, something that people don't need to bring up because it's so normal to them. The reason the people of Termina only talk about the moon falling and never about the moon now having a face is because it always did to them. It's just now that it looks more menacing and strange because of Majora's influence over it. The moon's eyes now reflecting that by being very similar to the Majora's Mask's own. Though I have to say, this moon doesn't seem any less terrifying than the one that we have in game. But the moon always having a face could go a little further. The inside of the moon has always been something theorized about. Why would the moon, if controlled by Majora, have this peaceful, calm, beautiful meadow within it? But what if this was what the inside of the moon always looked like to start with? And Majora's presence is only shown through the marsh children that now inhabit it. You could say that the moon having a meadow within it even before Majora took control of it was strange and makes no sense. But this whole video has been about the moon having a face all along. And it's Termina. Nothing makes sense here. To me, the moon of Termina always had a face. Just another strange thing about this bizarre land. It was peaceful. Just the moon. The face was the norm and the people saw nothing wrong with it. When it was taken over by Majora's power and started to fall, the people of the land could tell it looked different but were more focused on the fact that it was falling. They just thought that the moon now looked a little strange or a little scary. Its face in general wasn't the big main point. The moon of Termina in a way is just another victim of Majora's evil. Just like so many others who live in Termina. An entity taken over and controlled by the mask's immense power. Forced down slowly into the earth to kill everyone it once watched over. But what do you think? Do you think that I'm right and you agree with me in the moon always having a face and it simply being Majora's power that changed its appearance? If you have any ideas that go with this or any ideas that are different, do tell me. I love reading through them in the comments and I always try my hardest to reply to them. Saying the game that this video was about, I'm sure a lot of you have a lot of theories and thoughts about it. This has been yet another theory that I've had for years, and it's nice to finally talk about it with all of you, so thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. It's the quickest and easiest way to show me that you are enjoying the content I create. If you're new around here, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss a video from me. I post pretty much exclusively Legend of Zelda content, so if you're a fan of the Zelda series like myself, I'm sure you'll enjoy what I do around here. Thank you all again for watching all the way to the end of today's video. I hope you've all enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye!